Please welcome Executive Vice President, Supply Chain Management Development, Oracle Applications, Rick Jewell.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see everyone here, and it's great to see your faces for the first time in, 2 or 3 years, and not on a Hollywood Square Zoom window, as opposed to in person. So, we're going to get rolling here real quickly. We've got 45 minutes together. I am going to be joined by my colleagues, Geoffroy de Carbonnel and Jon Chroley. And then we will also be joined by a couple of customers. First is Bridgette Miller, who's Chief Marketing and Sustainability Officer for Melissa & Doug. And then my friend Senthil Kumar, who's Vice President of Enterprise Applications at Western Digital. So let's go ahead and get rolling here. I think first and foremost, these are the core principles that not only drive supply chain applications, but drive all of our Fusion applications. First, everything that you need. It's not only from the perspective of the broadest set of cloud applications available on the planet, but it's also a proven Gen 2 cloud infrastructure capability that we support with OCI. But thirdly, also having an experienced ecosystem of implementation partners who can help you make the implementation very successful. Innovation that matters in the context of supply chain is not only delivering the capabilities to address the wave of demand shocks and labor shortages and supply shortages that we have all been dealing with for the last couple of years, but also translating raw technology like IoT and AI and ML and blockchain capabilities to drive that innovation into your supply chain, into the readily deployable solutions and business capabilities. And then also innovation from a Redwood UX perspective. And you'll see some of that. Jeff's going to be doing a demo of some of our new capabilities in manufacturing around the new Redwood UX and new capabilities there. And then lastly, we are extremely devoted and committed to your success. I think most of you have noticed the difference in Oracle. I certainly have. We are now a service company. We are no longer a products company, which means that we will listen to what you need. We will incorporate your needs into our core products. And it means that our success is dictated by your success. Now, why is that important for the 4,000 supply chain customers? And I would add that over half of those are already live on some component of our supply chain solutions. But it allows the customers and our customers and yourselves to first offload the IT workload, which is typically 70 to 80% of what goes on in IT these days is maintenance and keeping the IT lights on. But it allows you and your IT staff to really focus on business change, being business analysts, and making process change for your companies. You can leverage our broad and deep functional capabilities to really focus on eliminating delays and inefficiencies and elevating responsiveness and quality. Again, using our intelligence and AI capabilities to really see more clearly, react more quickly, and operate much more efficiently. And then with the user experience that I mentioned before, being the next generation of what you're going to see more and more in our applications that will really puts the power in the hands of the end user and will delight even your brand new Gen Z recruits. And then lastly, you're not left behind. You are not locked into an old set of capabilities. You are moving to a platform that will constantly evolve. And just to mention, we are not the only ones who believe this way. So does Gartner, one of the large analyst firm. And Gartner has put out 4 Magic Quadrants for product-centric enterprises since 2018. And product-centric enterprises like yours. And we have been the clear leader in all 4 of those, including the one that was put out earlier this year. We are in the leaders quadrant. In every case, we have been the farthest up and to the left, which means that we are best in execution and also best in vision for the future. So what that really means is that you can align the enterprise with robust and complete set of capabilities, the ability to consolidate, standardize, and simplify your companies, gain insight from that new technology, that blockchain track and trace, IoT and analytics, be able to address new business models like servitization, local manufacturing at the point of demand, the customer centricity programs that you want to put in place, and even new business models that aren't really even defined yet. You can move to an exception-based model where things that are the normal routine are automated and allows humans to focus on the exceptions, and very importantly, focus on something that should be important to all of us going forward, sustainability, which will be another part of our session later on. And then lastly, be able to benefit from our quarterly releases of non-disruptive innovation. And again, one of the key tenets of what we do in development is that when you go home and your people go home on a Friday night and we update the system, we promise you that the system will look exactly the same when you come back in on Monday or on Saturday, but there will be a full set of new innovations, new capabilities under the covers that you can then choose to implement on your own timeline. So non-disruptive innovation that you can then take advantage of when and if it's appropriate for your company. So just to briefly go through some of the recent innovations, and again, we've been basically putting out about 150 new sets of capabilities in every one of our quarterly releases. So just to look at these thematically, starting with new experience, as I mentioned, new user experience, so things like self-service procurement, new OTM mobile app, and digital assistant, moving on to AI and IoT, data flux, being able to peruse the web and get information about your suppliers that you've never known about before, spend classification, new prediction models and the like. Bringing in Fusion Applications Warehouse, which we'll talk a little bit more about later on, but new capabilities in procurement and inventory and ordering. We'll move on to manufacturing and maintenance very shortly. And then as far as industry depth, obviously supply chain is an industry-based solution. And we currently support discrete industries of high tech, industrial manufacturing, medical device and life sciences, retail, consumer goods, but now also moving into process with things like co-products, byproducts, as well as dual unit of measure. Support for asset-intensive industries like telecommunications, distribution and logistics capabilities, and then obviously healthcare. Some of the new things that we're looking at doing going forward in the next few releases, you're going to see the Redwood UX being pervasive throughout all of the supply chain applications. And something that you'll see Jeff demo is the digital twin capability, which is really a sliding, zoomable capability that can scale from a given machine out to a production line, out to a plant, out to your entire supply chain. More AI and IoT, part recommendations, hyper-tuning, things like that. As I mentioned, Fusion Applications Warehouse to provide the complete set of supply chain applications, bringing in manufacturing, maintenance, logistics, planning, and the like. And then a whole raft of new capabilities from an industry perspective. For manufacturing companies, asset intensive, bringing supplier warranty and super sessions and things like that, as well as in the distribution area, customer programs for channel revenue management and a whole number of other capabilities there. So, with that, let me move on to the next portion, if I can. So, for the rest of the 45 minutes, first, Jeff will come on and talk about the integrated digital factory floor and the work that we're doing in advanced manufacturing. Then Jon and Bridgette will talk about ESG, and as I said, something that we all should be caring about is sustainability in the social enterprise. Then finally, I will come back and talk to Senthil Kumar about their implementation at Western Digital. So let's roll the video, please.
Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution, bridges the divide between the physical and the digital, merging the capabilities of human and machine. It's powered by massive and simultaneous advances in data collection, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and robotics.
Our focus is heading towards a lot of the predictive analytics, predictive maintenance, the IoT components, collecting data. So the journey we're on in most locations is identifying the data that we need to pull out of our manufacturing floor equipment.
The capability from Oracle IoT technologies to analyze the sensor data and to anticipate the fail help us to reduce dramatically lost time during the production.
Noble Plastics is a product realization company. If you go to Vegas and get a margarita, chances are the paddles in that machine were made at Noble Plastics. If there's an equipment failure or drift in some calibration, that gives us insight to work on those systems before there's a real issue.
Oracle's smart manufacturing solution doesn't just connect your shop floor data and IoT devices with your manufacturing, maintenance, and planning business systems. It uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to contextualize the information and provide actionable insights. It's a whole new way to think about business.
Good afternoon. My name is Geoffroy de Carbonnel. Manufacturers have been pursuing advanced manufacturing for years now. In fact, according to a 2022 PwC survey, manufacturers are investing an estimated $1.1 trillion annually in digital factory transformation. The transformation has been slow because it's hard. Manufacturers are left to integrate misaligned point solutions without a real end-to-end digital backbone, and in a complex ecosystem of connectivity standards and protocols. It really should be easier than that. So Oracle has launched bold strategic initiatives to make the process go faster. Let me show you our vision for what we think a digital factory should look like. Our demo takes place at Supremo, a manufacturer of automated external defibrillators. Quality and compliance are critical. Supremo seamlessly links their factory floor with their ERP and SCM systems, while at the same time delighting their users. Just like on her iPhone, Josefina Miranda starts her shift by logging into her workstation using facial recognition. It's fast, familiar, and secure. This login automatically checks her certification for this assembly workstation by verifying her training records in Oracle Cloud HCM. She can now begin work. So first up is a prioritized list of her work orders as sequenced by production scheduling. Selecting the first one launches the digital work instructions that were built in Oracle Cloud PLM and manufacturing. As directed, she scans each part and verifies that the components are accurate per the work definition. The serial numbers automatically become part of the unique device history record for that unit, which is a critical requirement for medical devices. Simplified controls and barcode support make it easy to operate, even with gloved hands. As you can see, we're transforming our UI. right? Making it consumer grade, more like the applications and kiosks that everyone uses every day. And this is being developed, as Rick said, in our Redwood UI platform. Each instruction step contains full-screen animated diagrams to identify parts and how to perform the operation. Interactive 3D visualizations combined with detailed descriptions guide the operator, increasing productivity, reducing errors, and especially for operators in training. Now, the integrated digital work instructions keep track of completed steps in a visual way so that the operator knows throughout the operation where they are. The assembly is done. Josefina triggers the final quality step. An overhead camera uses Oracle's computer vision to verify that all parts are installed correctly and without errors. This time it's okay. Onto a summary page that has the automatically maintained electronic device history record. Josefina reviews it and signs using the same facial recognition as before. Now later in the shift, Josefina is finishing another work order, but this time the quality check fails. The computer vision system detects a serious issue. This issue triggers both an electronic alert and a physical end-on light on the factory floor. While working in another part of the factory, the production supervisor, Jose, is alerted on his tablet to the quality issue. Rakesh from quality also received the alert, and they both meet Josefina at her workstation. Together with the team, they take a closer look. Factory Explorer zooms in on the work centers affected by this quality issue. The likely source of the fault is identified as an upstream torque screwdriver at Robotic Workstation 17. Jose clicks in for more details. Workstation 17 is now in focus and shows an X-ray view of the robot, which is also controlled by the digital work instructions. A graph with the data collected using Oracle's asset monitoring clearly shows the calibration drift and shows it in its physical context. Oracle's built-in AI is both suggesting the cause of the fault and recommending recalibration. Oracle's predictive maintenance had originally scheduled a calibration in 2 days. The team agrees to pull it in. The AI prediction was off this time, but it'll learn from this event. Sorry, could you go back one slide? With the calibration being addressed, Factory Explorer guides Jose and Rakesh to look downstream. Units manufactured today were potentially affected by this miscalibrated equipment. Jose views the work orders at risk, so Factory Explorer zooms out, and shows both the search results as a list with details and visualized in space. So it's information from the ERP in its physical context. Jose directs the affected components to the material review board, and each component's location is displayed on the map, and it's going to stay there until they're moved. And Rakesh will manage the quality issue that was created and disposition it in Oracle Cloud SCM. Now, Jose checks the updated operational health of his factory. He sees that his shift targets are at risk and that there are AI-generated suggestions to get back on track. He clicks through to Oracle Cloud's production scheduling, and 2 options appear with trade-offs between on-time orders and utilization. The first option reschedules work orders to meet priority 1 customer orders as maintained in the ERP and SCM systems. He triggers a simulation of the first option, which shows work orders being pulled in from tomorrow. And from the simulation, it's clear that the reschedule is feasible. Once he accepts the reschedule, it's captured as a new production plan, and Jose's selection will be used by the AI to optimize future suggestions. Jose goes back to his factory view, and he sees that the on-time orders KPI is now green. He drills in for a closer look, and he sees that his on-time shipments are trending in the right direction and closer to goal. Open orders are looking good. 3 of them are now scheduled earlier than promised, so he knows that his production rescheduling definitely helped close the gap. Job's done. It's time for Jose to take a break in the cafe. And on the wall, there's a digital twin of the entire factory for all to see. So before I close, let's hear from a customer about the potential impacts of this vision on Industry 4.0 initiatives. Roll the video.
AMDI is developing and manufacturing of in vitro diagnostic devices that is used in the point of care, like the doctor's offices, clinics. We are in the process of building auto labs along with all these consumables for the auto labs. Auto labs are point of care, small portable medical devices that can do everything of a huge labs will do. Cloud connected devices that's fast, that will give the patient data within 15 minutes. We are building smart manufacturing processes for our company as well. We currently have one that is a semi-automatic manufacturing process. We are also building a fully automated manufacturing process integrated with our Oracle PLM system, our employee training system, our ERP system, and then our product in the future when we release as well. So we use the cloud infrastructure to connect all this together. Oracle Cloud technology will have a huge demand in the market, will really benefit a lot of medical device manufacturers, help them to build high quality product, and then help their operators, help everybody involved.
Now, Oracle's advanced manufacturing is being designed with the factory operator and automation at its center. First, we're creating a consumer-grade user experience, as you saw, and embedding Oracle's leading technologies like IoT, computer vision, AI/ML into manufacturing execution to simplify both automation and operator engagement. Second, with Factory Explorer, we're putting real-time analytics in their physical context in a powerful factory digital twin. And finally, we're doing this by extending our ERP and SCM solutions for a unified, unparalleled experience, end-to-end, up-to-date information, and speed of adoption. Thank you. So let's transition to our next topic, ESG and the social enterprise, starting with a video.
The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals really aim to look at a broad spectrum of goals. They really do help us understand the targets we want to shoot for.
By helping people run their buildings more efficiently, we can really help save our planet by just applying the solutions that we've been offering for a really long time.
Because we believe that we have to help the community to live healthier and to look after themselves. That really is the great mission.
We're able to set an example for people out there to go and do the right things, to raise food the right way, to treat people, to treat farmers with the respect that they deserve, and ultimately cultivate a better world.
Protecting food, protecting people, and protecting the planet. That is really what's driving Tetra Pak. Sustainability has been a big part of our journey from the beginning, since we are made of a renewable source, paper. It's our planet together, it's our Earth, it's our resources, so why shouldn't we together find the solution?
Well, thank you. My name's Jon Chroley, and today I have the pleasure of wearing both my hats as SCM Product Strategy Lead and also as Oracle's Chief Sustainability Officer. The pressure for all organizations to respond to sustainability and social efforts has never been greater, We did a recent survey and 94% expressed frustration that not enough was being done, and 70% expressed a willingness to vote with their pocketbooks against brands or with their feet against employers who did not respond. So what exactly are we talking about here? Let's start with ESG, which is an umbrella term for three factors: environmental factors such as clean water, circularity, and carbon reduction; social factors such as fair labor practices, diversity and inclusion; and governance such as privacy, segregation of duties, and cybersecurity. All of these may be seen as relating to sustainability. Responding to these adds a whole set of additional requirements above and beyond the traditional ones. It requires enterprises to be clear and transparent about what their business stands for, to set and follow specific value-based initiatives, to incorporate this into their recruitment and retention of talent, to extend this to their entire ecosystem, validating, encouraging, and supporting similar initiatives with their supply chain, and of course, to embed these new requirements into the systems that run their business. The impact of ESG will evolve beyond tracking and reporting to impact all aspects of supply chain, redefining what constitutes supply chain best practices, from sourcing policies to leveraging predictive insights to reduce maintenance impact, to optimizing inventory to reduce waste and obsolescence, to integrating all related aspects of data capture and analysis within the context of line of business operations, to optimizing logistics, not just based on time and cost, but on carbon impacts as well, to designing, making, and supporting products that are more intrinsically circular, to finally building these considerations into both short-term and long-term planning. In short, ESG will impact everything. So let's look at Oracle's commitment. We're committed to building ESG capabilities into our solutions at every level. At the technology level, the OCI Clean Cloud, for example, collection of real-time time series data with IoT, leveraging that with AI and machine learning, and tracking the provenance of material with blockchain and intelligent track and trace. At the operational level, collecting and tracking required information as part of normal business operations. Some of that is native now already. Others require some configuration, but our goal is to make all of this data first-class capabilities, first-class attributes. And then at the analytics level and decisioning level, building an extensive ESG analysis and optimization capabilities as an intrinsic part of our Fusion Analytics solution. All of this is under development now as a major expansion of our Fusion Analytics platform. And finally, at the reporting level, with flexible reporting against various standards such as CDP and SASB and others, this is already supported using our EPM cloud solutions for ESG. So with that, I'd like to welcome to the stage Bridgette Miller, Chief Marketing and Sustainability Officer for Melissa & Doug. Welcome, Bridgette. All right. Okay. Well, maybe we can just begin, Bridgette, by telling the audience here a little bit about Melissa & Doug and your role in that company.
Yeah, absolutely. Melissa & Doug is a global toy company that has been serving parents and children for over 30 years. We are best known for encouraging open-ended play, our wooden portfolio of toys, and being 100% screen-free. I joined Melissa & Doug about 2.5 years ago, and there was a reason we put marketing and sustainability together. It's really because we have a strong reputation as a sustainable brand. We are the #1 preschool brand for sustainable and wooden toys, and so we really wanted to make sure that we looked at it through a consumer lens and consumer satisfaction.
So maybe you could talk a little bit about how you see ESG impacting business and what some lessons the folks here may take away from that.
Yeah, I think ESG has been really growing in importance for a while now, but I think the pandemic has heightened our sense of vulnerability to the unseen, to the unknown, and really the unplanned. And so I'm hoping that people and businesses can get behind the idea that climate change is real, and even though we may not see it today, that it is something that we have to plan for. And so our response to ESG as a company for Melissa and Doug was really to ensure that we are building a future for the next generation. And we're known as a sustainable organization, as an inclusive organization, and so we wanted to formalize our strategy both to the organization but also publicly. And we did that by creating a strategy focused on 3 key pillars. One is creating timeless toys. We create high quality wooden toys that get passed down from generation to generation. Creating thriving forests, so our commitments are really centered around forestry, whether it's responsible sourcing of our wood, whether it's reforestation and putting back the resources that we use and then some, or being 100% carbon neutral in our operations. And you know, as parents, as brand ambassadors, we feel a strong responsibility to do that.
So I think you may have answered a little bit of this already, but why do you feel that companies need to respond to this?
Yeah, I get this question a lot. You know, Melissa & Doug is a purpose-driven brand. Of course, it makes sense that you would have a strong sustainability strategy, but I really think about the parallel between digitalization and ESG. When the pandemic happened, a lot of companies had been putting off digitalization for a while, waiting until it got to sort of a critical point and saying, hey, why do I really need it now? This is something I can put off a bit longer. And then something none of us expected happened, and those companies that had embraced digitalization were able to keep their businesses moving while others had to rapidly transform. And I think ESG will also hit that tipping point. But beyond that, consumers, customers, investors, employees, there's many employees that come into our organization, and the first thing they say is, what is your sustainability story? And then, of course, on a human note, it's all of our responsibility from a sustainability perspective to leave behind a better planet for future generations.
Yeah, I know you're partway through your implementation, and maybe you could share a little bit about how that's going.
Yeah, so our organization has experienced really rapid growth over the last 3 years. We have outgrown our legacy ERP system, and so we're in the process of transformation with Oracle. Since we are a SaaS-based platform organization, we looked at options that were cloud-native options, and Oracle's capabilities from a financial and a supply chain perspective really met our needs, and we're excited about the transition because we believe this is a system that can support our long-term growth and really support our business as we continue on our journey.
And obviously I shared a little bit with our objectives of building all of this in natively to all of our cloud applications. I assume you're looking forward to being able to take advantage of that.
We are. We're on a journey in terms of that transformation. We're really starting with our financial and procurement. We would like to ultimately end in a place where we're integrating better with our suppliers and really have a cloud-based system that enables us to not only manage our inventories better, but also be able to meet the regulations of quality and ESG requirements, which are always adapting and changing. And so we're looking for platforms which Oracle delivers that continue to be flexible, because the needs of stakeholders, the needs of regulators is a constantly changing landscape, and we need a platform that can help us keep up.
Well, we could talk for hours, I know, but time is short, I'm afraid. We need to move on to the next session. But thank you so much, Bridgette.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. We're going to move on now to the next section, the Digital Connected Enterprise. Richard Jewell will be coming back on stage, but before that, let's roll the next video.
Oracle Cloud, letting data and insights flow in any direction, between departments, between devices, between every part of the organization.
We use Oracle as our backbone for our supply chain and really our production process. Being a food producer, we have to provide traceability from where that ingredient came in from the field to when it came into our plant to what jar we put it in.
It's an order management for sure, because it integrates the sales team with the operations team to make this kind of thing happen. The cloud gave us all the visibility that we want. We just provide a better response time because we are more integrated.
We've done a lot of Oracle across the board to get us through this journey, to modernize our systems and get us on this digital transformation journey.
Broadcom designs, manufactures, and delivers products for the wireless and wired communication sector. The Oracle solution in place, we are positioned to scale successfully for all the future acquisitions.
We wanted a single source of the truth, not multiple systems of truth.
We consolidated 13 systems and went to Oracle Cloud. We needed that all-in solution, and it brought us projects, supply chain, accounting, and the planning aspect all together.
Going on time? Or is it on time now?
We're on the final stretch here. That video highlighted a number of cases where the business advantages of having a consistent digitally connected solution, not only, as you heard, integration of acquisitions, responding to quality and compliance issues, supporting new markets, new product lines, new business models, visibility and insights holistically. But in our mind, the issue is really having an enterprise that has consistent, digitally connected supply chain platform that is as complex as it needs to be, but no more so. So it's really about consolidation, standardization, simplification to drive synergies to make value of the whole greater than the sum of the parts. And along those lines, it's not about, in our mind, optimizing around a single business function. The typical best-in-class sort of a situation, even though we have a number of our applications that are considered to be best-in-class. What really is important is not optimizing around digital innovation, commercialization, omni-channel, virtual connected factory. It's optimizing around the connections and the whole associated with that. And in order to do that, there needs to be not only supply chain, but also ERP and CX and HCM related functions. And that's really what the Oracle Supply Chain Cloud is all about, is leveraging all of that to the benefits of you, our customers. So it's about detecting, deciding, and executing in total. So it's capturing and leveraging the digital signals and determining which ones are important from a supply chain perspective, bringing that into a comprehensive multi-level collaboration and planning solution, linking that to execution, linking that to ERP, HCM, and CX from a common unified data store, getting insights and predictions via the analytics and machine learning, and then connecting that in turn to your business ecosystem. Now, one of the things that you'll hear about later on today, and I'll invite you to see Steve Miranda's keynote at 4 o'clock, is talk about leveraging this even more so and optimizing around our cloud capabilities. And this is our B2B commerce, which is really a misnomer in that we no longer have to do the arm's length transactions that is typically required and takes a month or months in order to be able to set up and organize. This is capabilities inside our native cloud. And I talked about opting in to features before this. Well, that's one of the things. In your pod, you can simply flip the switch and opt in to integrated banking services with JP Morgan Chase. So native services from an expense reporting perspective, credit card services being supported by JPMC, as well as financing. And another area that we then will look into is in integrated logistics, but all within the cloud, within our infrastructure that we support. So, and when it comes to FedEx being tracking and rating and invoice printing and things like that. So again, see Steve Miranda's talk this afternoon at 4 o'clock, and he'll go into much more detail about that. And then lastly, I talked about Fusion Analytics before, but we have a lot of transactional capabilities built within the core Fusion applications. But there's obviously a need for more complex longitudinal type analytics and a hierarchy of KPIs, and that's what we support in our supply chain analytics, initially now within logistics and procurement, but expanding, as I said before, out to manufacturing and the like. So with that said, I'd like to get to our last portion here and get a chance to talk with Senthil about what he's done at Western Digital around a digital connected enterprise. So Senthil? All right. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here. Why don't we start off? Tell us a little bit about Western Digital.
Yeah, so Western Digital today, I know it started with the merger of 3 Fortune 500 companies, right? So we had legacy GST making enterprise hard drives. We had legacy Western Digital was making hard drives for more commercial use, right? And then we also had SanDisk, right, specializing on solid state storage devices. So when these 3 companies came together, so we not only had 3 legacy ERP applications, but we had a landscape of business applications, right? We had 3 or more of each applications, right? That's where we started our journey.
Yeah, and I remember talking to you and others early on about how you knew with the merger of 3 large companies, all the same size, you were going to have to transform some of the company. And you decided that let's transform 3/3 of the company, right?
Yeah. So it was not, a decision to go, use one of the 3 and force fit the other 2, 2/3 of the company was not a choice, right? That was not the choice for us, right? So we had, 3 of each, and then even to ship components to an assembly factory was difficult unless it came from the same legacy company, right? So we, going through the journey, going through the transformation, implementing an application for the integrated company was critical for us. Right?
So how did you approach the project, and what governance did you put in place?
So I know we made a decision. We know that these. We had the history of these systems, right? 2 of the legacy ERP systems have been there for like 25 years. Highly customized with thousands of custom codes and objects, right? So we decided that we are not going to do that again, right? So we know, based on that experience, right? We know that whatever we are implementing is going to be used by this integrated company for the next 15 or 20 years. So we want to implement something which is based on best practices and based on standard applications, right? So governance was very important for us, right? So I know we are not going to be able to go and customize it based on the legacy, right? So that was not our goal. So we had to engage senior executives from all the business functions involved in each phase to make sure that we are engaging all these business process owners and the senior executives. We had to identify some key decisions up front, right? What needs to be made. And we had to make these decisions, along with them, right, to ensure that we are able to go and have the ability to change the process rather than changing the tool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we've talked a lot about transformation and connected, digital solution. How does that work in the context of what you've done, and what benefits have you achieved at Western Digital?
So now, as I said, right, even factories now, when you go to any factory, you don't see, they don't think whether they are from legacy Western Digital or from legacy GST, right? So now they all are part of the integrated company. So our implementation was part of that effort to go and integrate all these different companies, right? So this also now gives us, the platform which helps us to further automate, right? So now we are able to identify best of breed applications, right? Other automation solutions to go implement on top of the solid foundation that we have put in place.
Okay. Well, and maybe along those lines, what's next for Western Digital? What other new things are you looking to be doing?
So we are, as part of, while we went through this journey itself, right? So doing automation, reporting, these things were key. So we started, we used some of the functions within ERP and the other applications that we were implementing to do that. But now we are looking beyond that, right? So now, some of the automations, it's possible when there are, say, for example, in procurement, if you have all your, if you have your master data all set up, you have your agreements all set up, then you should be able to, from requisition to PO, it's all automated, right? But when it's not, then there are people who need to use their discretion to go make a decision on creating these RFQs and other processes, right? So now we are thinking of using, since somebody's making discretion to go do this, we want to use expert systems, right? We want to use artificial intelligence to go automate even processes where, we are not able to establish those master data upfront.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I still remember, I know that one of the unique governance that you guys had put in place that I was very impressed with is, number one, you never really gave control to an SI. Yeah, it was always Western Digital that drove the implementation. But one of the things I found interesting was that you tended to use a different SI during each of the various phases. Could you just maybe spend a...
Yeah, so for us it was very important that we pick an SI based on the phase that we are going through, right? So initial phases were more focused on finance, right, and procurement. So we picked an SI who had that experience, right, implementing finance, right? Because when we started, we were one of the early adapters, right? Of Oracle Cloud. So we picked based on that. So then when we moved to implementing for factories, most of our factories are in Asia. So we need to pick a SI who had great presence there. They had senior architects there who could talk to the business leaders in Asia and make these important decisions, right? So then we had to go switch the SI. So we didn't want to stick with the same SI. Yeah. And this also indirectly gave us an ability to, when we moved to the next phase, fresh set of eyes looking at the previous implementation, right, to see, if there are any changes that we need to adopt.
Yeah, no, I found that to be very unique and successful for you. So with that said, last question is, I'm sure people are in the various stages of their implementation. What other advice would you give to people in the audience?
No, I think, for us, especially to move to cloud, it was really important that we had the long-term vision, right? So it was not we didn't choose to go big bang, that was not possible for us. So we had to go through, we spent a lot of effort establishing end-to-end processes for the integrated company, right? So, and then we made some key design decisions, and our implementation is of multiple phases, but we also broke it down to multiple releases and waves. Everything was done to make sure that the business disruption doesn't happen when we go through this journey. Right, so that was very an important thing for us.
Very good, very good. Well, thank you very much, Senthil, for your time. I guess just to close here, there are a number of other sessions that you should see. There were some that happened yesterday that will be on replays that you can take a look at. So some of those still to come today. There are a number of supply chain sessions that we have listed. The last one there is, as I mentioned, Steve Miranda's keynote at 4 o'clock that I would very much recommend that you attend. And then tomorrow, our last day, we've got more in all areas of supply chain. So I would welcome you to spend some time at those sessions and learn more about what we're doing. So with that, thank you very much for attending and have a good conference. Thank you.